Welcome, everybody. As always, please feel free to ask any questions along the way if you're watching live. If you think you might like to join me on the show yourself one day, please do get in contact. My details on the Channels About page. Next week, we're talking to Carrie Sundra from Alpenglow Industries. Sadly, last week she was a bit unwell, but we've rearranged. But today is Steph Piper. Hello, Steph.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty great.
Good stuff. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly? Just say who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a creative technologist. My day job is managing a library makerspace out at a regional university in Australia. And I also do quite a lot of side hustle projects as well. I make soldering kits in my spare time, art installations, and yeah, got a new crowdfunding campaign on the way.
Awesome. We'll talk about that more in a bit. Let's start with your background, I guess. So you went to uni and did a biomed degree.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
fascinating.
right.
Can you talk more about that, please?
Yeah, so yeah, I love science. Yeah, that was the first thing that I was sort of really excited about doing as a career. And while I was studying anyway, I went to go live on college, as you do. And during that time, I just got blown away with all of the stuff that was coming out around medical 3D printing in the news, how it was going to be the future of where we were going. And I thought, yes, that is what I want to do. That's
Can you
where I want
talk
to
to us,
go.
just expand on what medical 3D printing is? Is it
Yeah.
titanium? Or are we talking about live cells? Like what's that
Yeah,
mean to
it's
you?
all kinds of stuff, and I
Okay.
didn't really have a clue at that point in time, but I knew that I wanted to be in there doing it,
Okay.
regardless of where it was.
Fair
And
enough.
so that was back in like 2011, 2012,
Hmm.
and so you couldn't just go and buy a printer from Aldi at that point in time. RepRap was in full swing, and so that's what I did. I went and bought a kit to put together a RepRap Prusa Mendel in my little college room,
Brilliant.
which is of course your classic little A-frame
Yeah.
3D printer that you would not even consider building these days. um, but there was some magic moments there putting that thing together, and then seeing the print for the first time, and then having a horde of buddies from college gathering around it in your room as well, and like just sitting there and
It
just watching it.
moves.
Whoa! Look at
Awesome.
it go! And so yeah, that was fantastic times. And to be honest, today at work I felt a little bit of that same spark come back. We just got a new 3D print mill in the
Okay.
mail, which is your conveyor belt style 3D printer.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
we set up the first test print on that today, and yeah, I felt a little bit of that same spark from back then, like just watching it being like, oh, it's at a 45-degree angle. It's so
Wow.
different. Yeah, sat there and watched
Nice.
it for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, I ended up doing a random honours year in vaccine development, which I didn't enjoy as much. Like the lab work kind of stuff, like I thought it would be cool and fun, but yeah, it definitely didn't like give me that satisfaction that I would get from talking to people and building things and that kind of thing.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, I'm glad I sort of moved on from that fairly quickly, and I went and started a little PhD project at another local university, and I approached the professor there with some stuff that I'd made on that machine that I'd built, and he said, "You're on the team." And
Oh,
so
amazing. Well
yeah,
done. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was a great little head start to getting in the lab with that.
Very
And
cool.
so I was working on a project looking at 3D printable biodegradable breast scaffolds.
Okay.
And the concept around that was that if someone has breast cancer, they often need to go in for a mastectomy or a lumpectomy to have that cancer removed. And so, like, as part of that process, then they have to make a decision, like, around whether they want to, go and get surgery to retain a natural look, or whether they want to just have their breasts sort of completely removed.
Hmm.
And yeah, silicone and saline implants are not a nice choice when you start to read into like the studies around the health impacts that they can have. And
Okay.
so this was meant to be a third option that you could implant in, and it would biodegrade over 2 years to form connective and fat tissue in the patient.
So
And so it'd be
biodegrade
much more,
not meaning go away, get smaller. It means sort of build itself into the body. Is that right?
like go away
Okay.
completely and be replaced by your own connective and fat tissue.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
So yeah, you'd still retain a natural look, but you wouldn't have the risk of having, something that was like solid plastic, I suppose,
Yeah.
in your body that you need to get removed every 10 years, really.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, that was to be honest, like, I don't know if I would want something like that in me after being on that project, to be honest.
Okay.
But Yeah, it was a great project though, from the perspective of like my learning experience.
Yeah.
So we had all kinds of different like weird and wonderful printers in that lab. There was custom build ones that were used for specifically pellet extrusion, like for people in the lab who are making polymers from scratch. There was like a new cell 3D printer, which back in 2015 was pretty terrible. Like it would have that much pressure that you'd put the cells that you'd taken 5 hours to prepare into the printer, and it would have that much pressure trying to print them out of a tiny syringe that it would burst the cells and
Oh
destroy
no.
them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah,
bit
a
hit and miss.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. When I see people talking on the news about how we've printed a kidney or we've printed a heart or something, I'm very skeptical. Like, I think they're
Interesting.
living in the year 3000, realistically, with the tech we have.
Right.
But the breast project was recently featured in the news about a month ago, and that was very surreal to see.
So this is the project you were part of the team developing, and
Yeah.
amazing.
They've now had their first human trial, which is
Fantastic.
wild.
Well done. Yeah.
And yeah, I was watching the news and I was like, oh no, they haven't changed the renders. They're the same ones.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm very interested to see how that goes anyway, and yeah, hope it goes well.
Brilliant. So how was uni aside from that? Did you get involved in other projects at all, or?
Oh yeah, it was all kinds of fun. Yeah, like was very much involved in the like residential life, and I was a residential advisor for a little while as well.
Okay.
So I got to hold the phone and deal with all the fantastic and fun emergencies that come up, around noise complaints and first aid and all kinds of shenanigans.
Brilliant.
People like abducting farm animals and
Oh no.
putting them places as a prank and all kinds of good stuff. But it was all good fun though.
Nice.
But yeah, while I was doing the PhD anyway, I started getting really involved in our local hackerspace. Brisbane Hackerspace anyway is the biggest one in Australia. It's got stuff in there for, 3D printing, electronics, woodworking, metalworking, welding, blacksmithing,
Amazing. That sounds
huge, big space.
That sounds huge. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I used to go there every Tuesday open night and go and ask people 3D printer questions. Because we'd be at work and we'd be like, what's happened here? It's not working. And so, I'd go to the Tuesday open night and be like, so if this was happening, what would you do? And get all the great ideas and look like an absolute genius the next day, coming in with all the ideas.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, I ended up getting really involved out there and, ended up becoming president out there for 2 years.
Okay. So president as in running,
wild.
head of Hackerspace?
Yeah. So
Awesome.
big volunteer run, classic sort of hackerspace.
Yeah.
And love to see some of the growth and all the projects people make out there. One of my favorite things that I really love about that space at the time anyway, I think they don't have it anymore, but there was a freshly installed 24-hour swipe access system that was implemented, and someone figured out how to rig it up so that you could set your own theme song to play as you walked in through the door, and it would play like in every room on every Cisco phone that was installed in a network array. So you got to know everyone's theme songs pretty quickly, and people would like change their theme songs as well on a dime as to whatever the latest like meme of the month or something was.
Okay.
So it was always hilarious, like hearing people swipe in and being like, oh gosh.
Who's that?
Lots of good projects out there.
Very nice. Cool. So that was the beginning, I think, of your Hackspace, wasn't it? You went on to do something more recently or up till today?
Yeah, so that's how I pretty much got my day job. So, I heard that my old little uni that I studied at while I was president was starting to put together a little library makerspace. And so I ended up travelling up from Brisbane, an hour and a half up the road, back to my old uni, and I sat down with the lady that was running it and pretty much told her how to do her job.
Oh, no.
And, gave her you need to do these different things if you want to do proper makerspace stuff. And anyway, she sent me the job ad. And at the time I was thinking, oh gosh, what's a community engagement coordinator? I've just done 5 years of science study. This would be a fairly significant career pivot. And to be honest, there's just a disturbing lack of science jobs out there anyway. And so I was job hunting for a good 6 months without any result in
Okay.
science land, which was, yeah, I was pretty disappointed because like I feel like science has been so heavily pushed in our schools, in like science camps and all that kind of stuff. So like I feel like we're pushing a lot of people into the studies for it, but out the other end, we don't have as much support, I think.
That's interesting. Yeah. Is that
But
reflected elsewhere and other people said similar things?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen yeah, quite a lot of people sort of transition into other roles,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Interesting.
science communicator type people as well, transitioning into teaching and all kinds of other things.
Oh,
But yeah, that's pretty classic. But to be honest, I'm sort of a little bit glad though in hindsight. At the time, I was a bit like felt like a bit of a sunk cost fallacy type thing. But looking back now, I can sort of see that like while I really love like science in itself, I do not love sitting in a lab and doing all that kind of work. Like I'd much
okay.
rather be out there with the community and build things and be
Sure.
teaching people.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel very very lucky that I managed to get into the role when I did.
Okay. So now you're
Yeah,
back at uni, sort of working in the makespace. Are you running?
yeah.
What are you up to there?
Yeah, so it's a little space that's part of the library, which has all your classic sort of digital fabrication makerspace gear available. So we've got a whole bunch of 3D printers, we've got a 3D scanner, an electronics bench, lots of crafting materials, pre-cut machines, all that kind of gear. And because we're a little regional uni, we get a few students in, and yeah, students can just sort of drop in during the day and use the space and build all kinds of cool stuff, whether it's for their assignments or just as an extracurricular, a bit of fun. They might come in and, decide to print out a cake topper for their sister's birthday. Or, they've broken something and they want to use the 3D scanner to, make a copy and then 3D print it out.
Okay.
So the idea is that they can come in and they can get a couple of free 3D prints on the house to get them started. And then, from there, like it's a fairly flexible rule, to be
Nice.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it very much is about getting people in and teaching them those skills and building them up so that they feel confident with the technology and can start building up potentially a physical portfolio of things to show an employer and be, well, look, I made this. And they're
Yeah.
like, you've got the job.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so that's worked in my experience anyway.
Cool. Okay. So all this makespace stuff and your degree and things coming together. I think you've done some prosthetics and stuff. Would you be able and willing to talk a bit about that? Because that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
so
Yeah.
I've carried on the medical 3D printing passion with my day job, which is, yeah, feel delightful to be able to continue to do that. And so, yeah, there's been quite a few projects in that space, but I think to start off with, there's like I've been printing out little tiny nose and ear scaffolds that the
Okay.
tissue engineering students get to seed cells on as part of their tissue engineering assignments.
So for a lay person, can you just outline what a scaffold is and what you mean by seed cells?
Yeah, so it's
Sorry.
pretty much just like a 3D print with lots of holes in it.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so it's fairly like basic. It's just like a bunch of lines stacked together, and it's
Right.
like a scaffold, I suppose.
Okay.
And then you
It's
can,
kind of a wireframe nose, effectively. Is that kind of what you're going for?
yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and so like the cells themselves are actually like just clones. Like they're not, they're not going to grow into an actual patch of skin or anything like that. They sort of just, like you sort of have to look after them very carefully, and you've got to make sure they don't overgrow, and you've got to,
Okay.
add different chemical washes to get rid of the waste and add more nutrients. And it's very like usually a very thin layer of cells that grow on the bottom of like a bottle or something like that, like a flat
Okay.
bottle.
Right.
But yeah, instead of growing them in that kind of classic surface, the experiment is that they can try and grow them in a three-dimensional environment and get an idea of what future tissue engineering could look like. Where you might start seeding cells to grow into something that's three-dimensional. Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, and we've also done some cool prosthetic type stuff as well. This is one of the early prototypes here of a, there we go, a little finger
Okay.
that we did for a gentleman in our local area who lost his finger in a workplace accident.
Right.
And so this is actually an open source model up on Thingiverse. It's called Nick's Finger. And we were able to just take this and then we got him in and we took a cast of his finger stump and then scanned it on the scanner. And then we're able to generate a custom socket. So this is one without the custom socket. But we made him one that was custom so that it sort of fits on perfectly. and then he can attach the stick to his wristband and then move the finger back and forth with the rest of his hand when it moves.
Okay, amazing.
And he was saying that it was going to cost him $80,000 to get a real
Wow.
prosthetic finger made up from an actual company. And yeah, this costs like $5. So it's delightful.
This is one of
to be
the
able
most amazing things I've seen out of the maker community is the reduction in cost, the accessibility for stuff like this. It's just
it's huge.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, when you start speaking to people in the disability space, like it's distressing how much they get ripped off. Like we hear about, people getting charged more for weddings. It's the same thing for disability as well. Like, anything from the disability shop or in the disability space, people just add an extra margin on it, which, they can't really afford to pay it,
it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
I think the $80,000 cost probably comes from some kind of workers' compensation payout that they might be trying to yoink.
Yeah, that's difficult as well, isn't it? It's the funding is available, therefore people try and take it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's really not.
People scale it to what they think they might have available. But this guy in particular, he wanted to be able to play the guitar again, so it was great to help him out from that front.
And he managed it? He's there?
I haven't heard from him since, but I hope so.
Bit of practice maybe with a new finger, but awesome.
And we've now been able to get students through our industry placement subject, partnering up with more hand therapy clients to work on hand splint type projects and all kinds of other stuff, where they can actually work with someone individually and make something that is useful for that patient. And I'm starting to try and get those students thinking about whether that could be a potential small business for them if they wanted to go freelance when they graduated, because no one's doing it in our local area. So it's this huge missing niche, and you do not need a medical license or FDA approval. All that kind of stuff is medical device territory, which disability aids are completely standalone from that. And you can go ahead, and as long as the patient gives the okay and says this is what meets my needs, that's when the box is ticked, really.
Very interesting. Okay. Cool. I think you mentioned earlier that while we're talking before coming out live, that your uni is also starting up occupational therapy type degrees, and your Makespace sort of prototyping stuff is getting involved in that. Can you just expand on that a little?
Yeah, so that'll be pretty exciting. I forgot to mention as well that I've got this Cast for Broken Bones project as well.
Let's put that up. There we go.
There it is.
It's very cool.
So, it's a prototype I did with my local base hospital. And, it's a bit of a classic project. You see this around, in a few different places. But the essence of it is that it's a more breathable type of casts instead of, your big heavy plaster cast that you might be used to. So you get a lot more, aeration. You can go for a shower, go for a swim, get a really cool tan, obviously. And, have a bit more of a nicer healing process. But to be honest, after having made this, I think it's probably more sensible to be used for ongoing RSI, repetitive stress injury type stuff, where you might need more of a permanent solution. Because, going and 3D scanning someone with a broken arm is probably not the best idea.
Okay.
Because their arm's not the right shape.
Yeah, interesting.
But anyway, this is now, I've put up all the instructions on how to generate these through Rhino software. And so anyone can now go and, recreate these for themselves and hopefully work closely with their doctors in doing so. I occasionally get an email from someone who says, Steph, my uncle is going into surgery, or my son has destroyed his cast 3 times now. Can you please make him a cast, with your technique? And I, say no, because this hasn't had any human trials. This is, pure prototype territory. So if anyone does go ahead with this, they really need to work closely with their medical professional to make sure it is the right choice and doesn't have these potential problems that will no doubt surface.
So you mentioned earlier how medical device and things needs all kinds of approvals, whereas disability aids don't. Does this sort of sit in the middle somewhere where actually it's sort of helping a fracture heal, for example, or?
The original intention of the project was for, some kind of a fracture heal type scenario. But looking at it now, I feel like it probably is better suited to a disability aid type thing.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. Thanks for showing. Yeah.
No worries.
So if we move on from there for a bit, we had a quick chat earlier about some of your soldering kits and stuff, and I'd love to hear more about them.
Yeah.
There's
So here they are.
so they're for sale on Etsy and Pomeranian Adafruit. One second.
Yep.
Sorry, there you go.
How do you say it? Pomeranian.
Pomeranian.
Saying it wrong the whole time.
I don't know. That's probably wrong the way I'm saying it.
Well, you're like it's in your country, isn't it? Well, it's probably Pomeranian because that's Raspberry Pi reference, maybe.
Maybe. Anyway, never mind. Potato, and all that. So these kits, can you show them again? Just for those who haven't seen, just talk about what each one is.
Yeah, so these are like very basic soldering kits, and they're essentially like they make a little flashing badge, and they're a bit special because they have a couple of different solder mask colors on them, which is a bit rare to find out in the wild. So rather than looking like a standard, sort of boring green PCB, they look a bit more like an enameled pin. So like I'm really proud of how these have come out. Like they're very shiny, and like they make the project something that like you're excited to put together because it's going to look great at the end, and you can be proud to wear it and have it on display somewhere and keep it afterwards.
Awesome.
I've also got a bigger kit as well, which is this one here. So these pieces snap out to form a 3-dimensional soldering kit to make this little guy here, and he is a little like a nightlight, and so when you have a battery actually installed in it, it works, but it's essentially like it's a classic photoresistor style circuit, so it'll turn on when it gets dark.
Okay.
So it's like a little nightlight. Yeah.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
So
So these kits are very arty, very I would like to say well made, well designed, and things.
Thank you.
Can you talk to us about how the inspiration came up and how you approached it? Was it sort of more of an art design that you happened to make in the medium of PCB, or actually were you going for PCBs in the first place?
Yeah. So I have I'm fully self-taught in the electronics area. I haven't had any sort of formal training, and so like this all began anyway as like a classic startup weekend competition where I went along, and the idea is that you pitch an idea on the Friday evening, and you form teams and you work on a business idea all weekend. And so I didn't want to work on anyone else's idea, and so I pitched the idea of electronics for girls and how that might look, and ended up forming a team, and we pitched to the judges on the final day of the comp, and we ended up winning the local one, and so we got to go to the international finals.
Well done.
In Bali, where we got to pitch again against teams from like Malaysia and Brunei and China and Japan, and we ended up winning the international one as well. And so I thought, oh gosh,
amazing,
maybe this idea has some legs. And so that's where I met my business partner, and we started workshopping a whole range of different ideas to actually look at turning this business into something that could function as a business and not the bare wisp of an idea from a startup weekend. And so we had at one stage we wanted to build a laser cut house kit that you could put together and install little lights and fans and that kind of thing, but of course laser cutting is so expensive to prototype. We had all kinds of weird and wonderful PCB ideas as well to start with, which around doing more wearable tech stuff, so more sewable styles of LEDs and kits like that were very sort of lily pad inspired. And then we ended up settling on this idea, and along the way I was hammering an absolutely massive amount of KiCad tutorials, figuring it all out. And the whole process of making an art PCB is honestly an absolute nightmare, and I understand why people do not do it. It's pulling together so many different styles of software to make it all play nicely. And so the ones that I make, I generally start with a design that I usually get from an artist. These designs are from an artist, and I put those into Illustrator, and then I separate them out into, I clean up the design a bit if it needs it, separate them out into their classic circuit board layers.
Okay.
And then I also go into Rhino, or a 3D modeling software of choice, and I make the edge cut lines. And the cat kit especially, because it's also a three-dimensional structure, like I had to simulate what it was like in 3D and then also flat.
Yep.
So there was a bit of like, workshopping with that kind of style as well.
Okay.
And then it goes into Inkscape, and then you've got to use like the special SVG to Shenzhen plugin.
Yep.
Which then prepares the files nicely and puts them into KiCad. And then you go and workshop the design in KiCad and discover that KiCad has no scaling feature, cry about it, and then start from scratch again.
Oh no. Okay.
So like it is, very much like a whole workflow of different things that need to work in some kind of harmony.
Yep.
You can also just use like the KiCad bitmap to KiCad mod plugin as well that comes with that, and that's actually, like, I find more recently doing an okay job. But the previous ones that I was using sort of, like, it came out quite grainy, and I sort of would need to, like, I ended up sort of going with that first process initially.
Okay. Interesting. I think I've spoken with Sabine, or aka Bleep Track, a while ago. And she was saying similar things about the frustrations involved. And, anyway.
Like it shouldn't be that hard. Like they should like just chuck in some basic functionality to make it a bit easier to, scale things and rotate things without having to put in the exact rotation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Struggle.
So one of the major differences, I guess, from normal PCBs in inverted commas is the fact that you've got the two solder resists. I'm not sure if you've got a photo on the computer we could share just to sort of make it really nice and clear. Apologies for putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. Yeah, brilliant. So this is fantastic. I mean, look at the colors you got there. That's not normal in inverted commas. So how did that come about? How did that happen? And how was it working with KiCad and 2 layers of solder resist?
So like if we wanted to stand out in the market making soldering kits, which everyone else makes, we knew that we had to do something different and make it look stunning. Something that we were really proud of. And so, I ended up being able to travel to China on a guided tour a few years ago. And then, like a year later, I ended up planning my own trip back to China.
Okay.
Where I brought my business partner and also anyone else that wanted to come along. And I led my own little maker trip over there.
Nice.
And our intention was to find a factory and, see, like all the ins and outs of it anyway, that would actually make something like this.
Okay.
Because, there was starting to see some hints in the market of, your full color UV printing. And so, we were just taken by that and thought, we need to, do something cool around that. And so we visited this huge circuit board expo, like it was ginormous over there. And we had a translator along with us, and we went to every booth and we asked every supplier and we said, hey, would you consider doing multicolor circuit boards? And pretty much every one of them said no. And the translator's like coming back with stuff, and she's saying, so they've said, why would you want to do that? Circuit board for function, not for pretty. Circuit board go in enclosure box. Don't look at circuit board.
Okay.
What are you doing? You're just getting roasted along the way. But we ended up finding one place that would do it. And when they said yes, we were like, ask them again, translator. Are you sure? Did you understand what we meant? We were shocked. But really, for the factory, it's just an extra step, doing an extra color.
Okay.
And now that
is there
sort
a
of been doing
significant
this,
charge for that, or is that just?
Oh yeah, it's more expensive.
but significantly, or is it just a bit?
No, just a bit.
Okay, nice.
But since we've been doing this anyway, there's been companies like PCB Buy, which have been coming out with actual options to do this as part of their quote system. I think the art circuit board community definitely is showing a lot more demand for this kind of thing now, which is great. And the services are rising to meet it, which you love to see. Like I saw PCB Buy had a tweet today of like fully transparent circuit boards.
Oh wow.
Which looks stunning.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about maybe doing another circuit board business card with that.
I'll have to go fish that out.
Fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, like I went over to China with a circuit board business
Oh,
card.
1 second.
This one here.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see if we can get any form of focus there. Yeah, it's me and my business partner on there.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we were able to like hand those out at like networking events and stuff over there, and it gave us like this immediate level of street cred with like all the suppliers and stuff. We're like, oh my gosh, look at this.
Oh.
Which was good because my actual business card, like the papery one, I made special ones of those too that were Chinese translated.
Okay.
And when we got there, the translator said, so this says Stephen on it.
Whoops.
Oh no. So I didn't end up handing out too many of those.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Just cross it out.
Yeah, I still get the occasional email to Stephen. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So what route did you take before settling on these kits? Because they're lovely. Presumably there was some sort of attempts beforehand, or
Oh yeah.
you mentioned your other ideas, but
yeah, we did have a little failed Kickstarter campaign in the middle of all of that as well. So like one of my initial concepts was to have like a whole series of different kits that would come with a collectible like little circuit board in there, and it would feature a cool woman in STEM, and it would also, like when you collected them all and you assembled them, it would turn into like a full light up display, and it would all suddenly be connected and work.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a much bigger idea than I should have been trying at the time. Like, I think one of my main learnings from all of this is to really hammer in that minimum viable product concept. Like, is this really as minimal as you could make it? And continue to ask yourself that maybe 3 times more. You know, like I sort of wish that I'd done that at the start. And yeah, I feel like very blessed that I've been able to actually like been able to fund this level of prototyping and mucking around, because it is expensive. And I would not have been able to do this unless I had a day job to fund this crazy hobby town.
Sure.
Yeah, so yeah, I can understand why people don't, you know, do this kind of thing. And I'm lucky I had the safety net to continue to fail and continue to learn, I think.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would have been very tough.
Yeah, fair enough. Very good. So there's one other project that I'd like to talk about that's a good one. That's the party button. Can you just show us and talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So the party button is it's a 2 meter tall interactive art piece that I built last year for Curiosity Brisbane.
Okay.
And here's what it looks like here. So it's like a classic, you know, spin on the crosswalk interface that you might push the button to cross the road. And so on this one, though, when you press the button, you get 1 of 20 randomized party tracks, and the little crosswalk characters at the top do a little dance.
Oh, it's amazing.
So, yeah, it's good fun. And yeah, while it's a very basic type of execution, like the reaction you get from people is just phenomenal, especially little kids as well. They love it. And while it was on display anyway, it had, you know, all these people making TikTok videos of it and doing dances next to it, which is great. But yeah, the project had fairly humble beginnings. So yeah, someone like a buddy of mine came by and said, "Hey Steph, do you want some old traffic lights?" And I was like, "Of course I'd give them to me." And so they weren't like the big ones. They were like your crosswalk little jobbies. And so he'd gotten them from someone who was, you know, doing some kind of a refit and replacing with new ones, rather than going down there with the special screwdriver, I imagine.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Because he had quite a few. And yeah, it was like the green walking man. And so it was like, this little round guy. And so, yeah, I got one of those, and I immediately tore out all the old green LEDs and replaced them with rainbow color cycling LEDs, which is very important. Yeah. And once I'd done that, I was like, I need to do something else with this. And so went on AliExpress and bought a real traffic light button, which you can do for $100. Did you know?
Very cool.
And ended up mounting it all on like this, very sort of, you know, dodgy, like PVC pipe on a swivel chair base, and put in some Arduino to like make it, when you press the button, it would play Darude Sandstorm or, you know, whatever else. And it would play some of the crosswalk beeps beforehand.
Okay.
And so, it was like a bit of a soundscape type thing that was a bit silly. And and then the light would come on. And so I had that at work for a bit. and I would encourage people to press the button and then
Go on, push
find
it.
out, do it, what will happen, and with that I ended up putting in an application to Curiosity Brisbane, like this big art exhibition, and I said, hey, look, here's some pictures of my crappy prototype, it works, and I can make this happen, and so if you give me $15,000, I'll turn this into a fully stainless steel metal fabricated thing that's ready for outdoor display. And they called me up and they're like, how about you build 2 for twice the money? And I was like, you're gonna do what?
Okay.
In my 1-person team? Okay. And so anyway, maybe regret it a little bit saying yes, but it was an absolute mad hustle to get that thing done on time.
Yeah.
And there's all these other groups, like when I toured it afterwards, I realized that everyone else was working in these huge teams, and I sort of wish that I'd set myself up a little bit better to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a bit keen. And so I had to learn the sheet metal fabrication section of Fusion 360 to actually make the design for this, and sent it through to a metal worker who fabbed up the axle whole chassis. And I really wish that I'd spent some time as well learning to do some higher level coding, because I could not learn under pressure, and I'm very lucky to have there's a guy on Twitter, I've forgotten his name now, it's terrible, but he was an absolutely fantastic help to actually get my code to make the characters at the top do a dance, because I replaced those with LED matrices rather than the old crosswalk guy.
Awesome.
To make them do a true dance. But the craziest thing, emergency wise, was getting the engineering approval for it. So part of the spec was that it had to be fully freestanding, it could not be bolted down, was not allowed. And so, because this thing is so tall, there's always a danger of someone pulling it down or
give it a tug, it falls and hurts people.
Clocking into it with one of those, high scooters or something.
Yeah.
And and so the engineers came back a week before it was meant to go on display with this recommendations document. And they're like, so it says here, we've decided that you need 350 kilos in the base of this thing.
Wow. Okay.
What? I was doing the maths and I was like, you're not going to fit 150 kilos of flat plate gym weights in there. How are we going to do this? Are you going to, am I going to go down to the defense base and go and grab some spent uranium weights that they put in helicopters? Or try and find a stockpile of tungsten cubes in the science department? How is this going to...
Hey, look what I found.
Whoa, it's 350 kilos of tungsten cubes. This is just what I needed. I was all kinds of directions at the time. But anyway, called up my metal worker and I was like, what am I going to do? I'm in big trouble here. But he's like, we'll just cut some flat plate steel that fits exactly in the base and that will make up the weight. And I was like, oh, thank God. So he did that as a rush job the weekend before. Ooh. And so, this whole thing was so stressful. Oh my God. I don't think I'll be doing one of these again very soon. Okay. He was a bit keen.
Sounds almost like that was a bit of an unknown, unexpected, by the way you've got to do this at the very last minute.
It's just classic people and deadlines be like, oh, this is for you now. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Absolute crazy town. Don't regret having done it though. Now that the thing's over, I have been able to fit it out to have all the way down here. I've got some full button tracking on it now, so I can I've got a live dashboard where I can watch how many people are pressing it.
Nice. So these are still installed and operational somewhere.
I've got one down at the Brisbane Hackerspace.
Okay.
And one at a local writers children's type space in my area too. And so this little screeno here with 147 presses on this particular day was a group of 15 kids from Coda Dojo that came in one day. So they each pressed it, about 10 times each.
Very cool. I love it.
Yeah, they were loving it. Um, yeah, they would have
Brilliant.
fully explored all of the tracks on it by then.
Figured out the randomization and everything.
Yeah. So yeah, and now I can hire it out and have it at different events and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Nice.
is lovely.
Brilliant. Very cool. So that sort of takes us nicely to your big new thing.
Oh
Could
yeah.
you introduce that for us?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that I've always sort of been keen on like the wearable tech space a little bit. That's where some of my, very first ideas came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so this project here is called Glow Stitch LEDs. And this is what the little prototype looks like. So this is what it looks like individually here.
Okay.
They're essentially little tiny flex circuit boards. And the idea is that these are an easy way to do crafting and wearable tech projects. So you stick them down with your conductive tape and it's fully machine sewable. So you can run your sewing machine through the tape and the tabs and secure it down. So normally if you want to do wearable tech stuff at the moment, you're sort of stuck with hand stitching with conductive thread, which is very time consuming. And like I used to teach workshops in it and I don't do that anymore because like no one knows how to sew anymore. Like it's an absolute nightmare.
I imagine in an hour workshop you don't get a lot done as well, which is quite frustrating.
And you'd think there'd be a difference in the skill levels between kids and adults, but like it's honestly a real eye opener.
Okay.
And so these sort of remove that struggle, make it easier just to tape it down, no sewing, or fully machine sew it if you want to finalize it for an actual cosplay type thing.
Yeah, and it's nice as well because it's tape it down is sort of a temporary step one, and then you make it permanent as step two, and it's detaches the that's awesome.
And might be a bit hard to see on the camera here, but these are actually color cycling LEDs as well.
Okay.
So they slowly shift through the rainbow, and normally if you want to add rainbow lights to things, you end up mucking around with a bit of Arduino and a bit of coding, and sometimes it's a bit of a struggle to actually get things to do what you want in a fast way. And so this makes it a bit of a speed run to get to that final result, and gives you a bit of like project satisfaction a lot sooner, because one of the things that sort of like resonates with all of my projects and my why as to why I'm really interested in this stuff is like there's so much complexity around learning electronics if you haven't done it before. And like there's a lot of interest in teaching it in schools and doing STEM and makerspace stuff, but I still have all these people that come in and they look at it and they say, no, I can't do that, it's too hard.
There's a lot of mental block there as well, isn't there? People just presume that they can't because they don't know yet. It's very interesting.
But if you can look at a video and understand how it works in 30 seconds, then you might think, oh, okay, maybe I can do this.
Give it a go.
And so this anyway combines the best of like both LilyPad electronics and Chibitronics paper circuits. So you can use it not just for wearable tech but also more generalist crafting as well. You can actually paint over them and use them in artworks. You can use them in cosplay. But I'm really excited about them potentially using them in schools and in the education type space, to actually, teachers are so time poor. Like the poor souls are like running around trying to do everything, and then on top of that trying to learn like all these extra STEM skills and software and like it's massive to keep up with that. And I'm hoping that something like this can make it a bit easier for them to teach and get good results with.
Yeah, awesome. So this is LEDs and batteries, what you showed us just now. Is there more to it than that, or is it sort of something you're going to grow into?
I'll show you the page. But essentially there'll be different variations of them as well.
Okay.
So this is the crowd supply pre-launch page because it'll be going.
So that was going to be my follow-up question was where can we get these? So this is a campaign you're setting up on crowd supply.
Yeah. So awesome. Essentially when you get it anyway, it'll look like this sheet. Okay. And the sheet comes with, LED strips, ones with just one LED. We've got an LED ring in the center there as well. And there'll be a variety of both color cycling and white LEDs. Okay. That can be used for a variety of different projects.
Just to scroll back to that sheet, you've got, this is effectively a PCB, and then you snip them out when you want to use them.
That's right.
Nice. Okay. And
Yeah,
I
you
see
can
your
also
test here
like
tags at the
test them.
bottom. Yeah,
Yes, you can test them
neat.
there.
Okay.
And
And
so
that
when
lights up
you,
the whole panel sheet, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, so you can see
Yeah.
what colours are which.
Okay.
And yeah, also makes it a nice, easy test in the factory too,
Yep. True.
for quality control.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I've also like made really clear instructions as well, to make sure that they're nice, colourful and easy to understand and visualize, while also having little bite-sized chunks of information. Like nothing kills learning more than getting an instruction manual that looks like it's like
A wall of text.
yeah, it's like, oh Lord, I have to read. A computer make. Yeah, so like yeah, definitely like brings down a little bit more of that barrier to entry.
Okay.
Plus like lots of project sheets and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is the demo on painting over the LEDs as well.
Okay. Nice.
And yeah, no soldering as well, no coding. So it's meant to be the absolute sort of bare minimum to get a nice light up result. To make sure that people who are at like the very end of the tech space, maybe looking in apprehensively going, oh, is this for me? It's going to bring those people in, rather
Awesome.
than, people who maybe have a bit more advanced skills.
Yeah.
Or maybe make it a bit easier for those people too, I suppose. But I've made these fully open source now as well.
Awesome.
So people who have more advanced skills can go and take these modules and turn them into their own more complex modules, potentially.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
make sensors and all kinds of great stuff. So in that repo anyways, the files to make sheets of 1, sheets of 5, plus the ring and the battery holders.
Okay.
Yeah, so it means you can go and fab like a whole sheet of them if you want to make a large project, or start to remix these into your own things that you can then, sell if you want to even.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. And I have to say, the
Yeah.
documentation that people have been putting out more recently over the last few years just looks so good. And yours is fully in line with that. So well done. Thank you. It's
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like I've got a Hackaday page as well that I've been slowly updating with experiments that I've been running as well. And
okay. Because I know
my
you've
own
been
sort of
tweeting about these for a little while, sort of hinting at them.
yeah, like I did some machine washing testing as
Okay.
well on the weekend. But yeah, I've been doing like a lot of sort of destructive as possible testing, like to push the limits of what I think people might do. And this here is a strip of 100 LEDs that have been machine sewed 5 times on each side.
Okay.
Like just absolutely, like if you were to unpick that, like there would be barely any of that end of that tab there left. Like it'd just be like you're gonna be able to reuse these, but yeah, they all still function. None of them went dead.
Okay.
Yeah, which is phenomenal.
Brilliant. How did the machine washing work out? I have to admit, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it actually went fine. Like all of them still work.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and there's barely any like I was sort of thinking that the LEDs would probably be okay, but I was a bit worried about how the tape would go. Like tape gets a bit funny over time. The sticky, could potentially go weird, and like especially this little bit here on the sticking down on that battery.
Yep.
I thought that might peel off and start to look a bit uggo or something. But it was actually fine. Like it continued to stick through the cycle. Like I did put it in a laundry bag here to make sure it wouldn't catch on any other clothing.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah,
so
there was visibly no difference.
Nice. For clarity, then the one with the battery that's on the top there is just stuck down. There's no sewing involved. Is that right?
There is a little tiny bit of sewing. So there's a little sewing on the ends of the tabs there to fully pin it down.
Just make sure it doesn't move. Nice.
Yeah, you could set up your machine to do a buttonhole there, your sewing machine, but I'm not that advanced in sewing.
Fair enough.
My mum is, but yeah, not me.
Okay.
She's too good. So yeah, if people do want to, if they're interested in this project and they think, yes, this would be perfect for my kids or my local teacher or myself for an easy craft project that won't take me years to complete of technical crazy. There's a little subscribe button at the top here where you can put in your I am subscribed. Yeah, you can put in your email address and get notified when the project goes live.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing that out. I think there's a link to this in the description of the video. So anyone who's interested, please feel free to click through. Can you talk to us a bit about the path to today on this project? Have you been through a number of prototype runs? Has anything gone wrong? That kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I've actually had this project on the back burner since 2020.
Okay.
And yeah, I sort of was originally thinking that I would just put these in products and sell the products. But of course, that idea never really scales very well. Making things yourself, you can only make so many things until you send it to a factory.
Yep.
And yeah, there's always been people who have been lurking in my periphery who have seen this project and have said to me, you need to patent this right now. You need to protect the idea. Do not tell anyone, blah, 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 secret time.
Yeah.
And I've always sort of taken a little bit of that on board, and I've never really done anything with it. And I sort of got a bit roadblocked when I ordered 100 of these, and I had to assemble them myself as well. And I was like, oh gosh.
Want to not.
And so anyway, yeah, I sort of decided around, the whole idea of patenting stuff is so expensive. You end up spending $7,000 to get it patented in Australia, and then an extra 15 for international. And then on top of that, doing lawyer town stuff, I don't have the energy for any of that. And this is so easy to rip off if you wanted to. I might as well just release the designs and make it so that people feel welcome to and actually get a learning experience out of, making them or making their own modules. And yeah, I feel like there's not much point in trying to protect it when people can get so much more value out of, using these themselves.
Yeah.
Have more of a positive impact upon the world than, me trying to hide it away.
Keep it.
Keep it for me.
Yeah, it's a very interesting split mindset, isn't it? The keep it secret, keep it safe in inverted commas versus share it with everyone. Just get it out there.
Yeah. I'm very much on the share boat now as well because, wearable technology is one of those spaces that is chronically underdeveloped. There's so many things we could be doing and we should be doing to bring more wearable tech experiments and things to light. But because wearable tech often requires skills in textiles and electronics and hardware or whatever, you don't really have that many people in that weird little niche zone. And so making it easier for people to get into and get excited about and have a positive experience with, I think is so important in growing that very small field.
Absolutely. I apologize for any noise, by the way, if you can hear it from next door.
All good.
So that's awesome. I love the sharing and getting people excited side of a lot of what we're seeing now, and it's it's great that you're doing it as well.
If we want to have a next generation of people who are confident and feel excited about this kind of stuff, you've got to have very positive experiences along the way. If a lot of people are very apprehensive about electronics is because they've tried it, they've try and have a look at a little bit of that, and they've just automatically just drowned in the complexity that is Arduino even. We think of your beginner entry level stuff, but if you've got no idea and you step into that for the first time without someone helping you,
that's the thing, isn't it?
You can easily get lost just because you plug it in and your port's grayed out and you're like, oh well, that's going
now what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, how many of us have a Raspberry Pi in the drawer that we haven't bothered to even do anything with because it's such a time investment and so complex to actually get in there and make something real happen. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we need those smaller steps into this kind of stuff to make it easier to actually meet people at their needs, I think.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm not sure if there's anything else in particular that I'd like to talk about. Is there anything you'd like to shout about?
I think that pretty much sums it up. So yeah, I'm very excited about these glow stitch LEDs.
I think they're awesome. They look so good, and that sheet as well. I love the sheet. That's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm so happy with this sheet and how it's turned out. I just got literally a photo from the factory today, and I'm very excited to receive it in the mail.
Yeah.
And,
looky look.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
Very cool. Well, I think in that case, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been great to have you on. And
Thanks so much for having me.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm delighted to talk to you about all of this, and thanks for being such a great host.
No, well, thank you. It's been fascinating. A lot, we're talking about a lot today, and yeah, it's all been brilliant. So thank you.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
that's goodbye from us. I'll see you again soon, and
Bye.
thank you, Steph.
Thank you.